Hello, Kirk. It's really nice to see you here.
Thank you.
The Art Revolution Taipei. Very, very excited. Could you tell us a bit about your background and where you're from, etc.?
Sure. Yes, I'm from New York and from Brooklyn, and lived there for 17 years. And I got my undergraduate degree in fine arts from the University of Texas, and I studied fine arts, also photography, at School of Visual Arts, where I received my master's degree, and that was in New York in 2003.
Okay, wow, very interesting. I'm interested about your style of work. It's very individualistic and it has an organic feel to it. Has your artwork always been of this theme, and how have you kind of developed?
Well, I think my work has always been very graphic, and it's been very often either stark black and white, or just a few colors, or on the completely other end of the spectrum with very, very colorful, saturated color palette. I think it's mostly been influenced by working for many years in magazine publishing in New York, where I managed departments where we looked at thousands and thousands of images that came through for the magazines every month, and we color corrected and retouched these. It made me very, very sensitive to color and detail. And so a lot of my big aspect of my work is trying to get people to notice the fine details of the subtleties of colors and the shapes and exactly what makes up an image. They change as you move from a different distance, close and far away. And I like to make images that sort of provoke or are provocative to make people think about exactly what it is that is making up that image and how the eye perceives it from different distances.
That's very interesting, actually. Yeah, because you're right, it does change form. And, you know, for me, when I look at the images, I think of almost a microscopic view of something. And it seems as well, the images seem to feel very organic, and they have a sense of, you know, the nature with them. They're formed from nature. I mean, all these images that you've taken, I mean, obviously here we have the one of a starfish. Are they actually taken from real life and then you've formed them into different images, or where's your inspiration come from this?
Yeah, they all do start from photographs in one form or another. And the thing they probably all have in common is they start with bold compositions, and they all have a certain amount of detail that I would find interesting enough that I can sort of deconstruct that detail as well as the color into smaller parts and try and make each of those parts very interesting. And so architecture can be sort of similar to nature. You have a bold form, like the overall shape of the building, the main elements of the building, and then all the small ornamental details of that building. And say you could compare that to a shell that has, from the ocean, that has a very clear, bold, spiraling form, but then within that form are all kinds of little details, just like windows on a building or ornamentation. So that's what they probably all have in common. And then I take not only that form, but those small details, and I try to bring some life and interest and pattern to each of those, so that the eye, the viewer can just investigate every part of the image and find something different in every part.
They definitely envelop you. I mean, when you look upon the images, your eye is fascinated, and it draws you around the image, not rather than often with art there's a focal point or a centerpiece. With this art, you sort of brought circular, and the eye is drawn to the various contrasts as well within the painting. And as well as what's interesting as well, the difference between as you look at close and as you look far away, the image changes as well, which I think it gives it more of almost a magical feel. And there's a luminescence to it as well, which I really like.
Well, thank you. That is what I'm going for, and I'm glad you see that in it. I'm glad it's not just me. And yeah, I think the material also helps with that luminescence. I print often on a brushed aluminum material, and the inks have some transparency to them in some areas. Some are completely opaque, very rich blacks. Other areas I don't put any ink at all in, and those areas represent the highlights or the lightest parts of what would have been in the original photograph.
So could you explain a little bit about the technique you use? So you say you use ink. So how do you actually create this image? I mean, what do you start with?
Yeah, so I would say it's best described probably as a twofold process. On the first part, I'm creating the image, and I use the computer to create it. And the tools are paint brushes and drawing tools, and I use a digital tablet. And so I'm creating the image in the computer on the one hand, and then on the other side is the printing part of it. So on the image creation part, just like a painter has a paintbrush, I'm using digital tools, starting with a photograph. I'm painting on the photograph, I'm drawing from the photograph, I'm recomposing it, I'm embellishing it, I'm making the photograph really what I wanted it to be, exaggerating a lot of the detail, the color, and then after I have sort of set this image up, like a silk screener would use traditional printmaking techniques of color separations, inks with transparency, other ones with opacity, layering. After I've set this up in the computer, then I send the file to a digital printer where I print on large sheets of aluminum. And this printer is, it's really nothing unique in the sense that it prints large commercial signage, but I've changed the printer profiles to make this printer do things it doesn't normally do, laying inks down in different orders, multiple layers of inks. These are all sort of the ingredients that I use to create these images and make what are really common materials. This metal and this printer create something really beautiful. A common material that I've now made into a fine art medium.
Great, yeah, very interesting, yeah. And I think the process is very unique. I haven't seen this kind of process anywhere, actually, and it's what makes it very special as well. I want to thank you very much for the interview. This is Zara at Watson-Ellis Gallery, so thank you very much, and
thank you, Zara.
Good luck.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, bye-bye.